Commander Kalen Rohr stood motionless on the bridge of the Imperial Frontier Cruiser Vigilant, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he gazed at the starfield beyond the view screen. The reptilian officer's reputation for unflappable calm was well-earned. In 15 years of Imperial service, he had never once raised his voice or shown signs of distress. Today seemed no different. Another routine patrol in the remote Sector 7G, a sector so uneventful it was often used as punishment duty for officers who had displeased their superiors. "Status report, Lieutenant Zura," Kalen said, his voice measured and calm. The avian communications officer swiveled in her chair, her feathered crest twitching slightly. A tell that Kalen had learned indicated mild anxiety. Her species was naturally high-strung, which made her exceptional attention to detail both an asset and, occasionally, an operational challenge. "All systems nominal, Commander," Zara replied, her talons clicking against her console, though the long-range scanner is showing that intermittent glitch again. "Maintenance says they're waiting on parts from Central." "Of course they are," Kalen murmured. "How long this time?" "Estimated 6 weeks, sir. Apparently, there's a backlog at the regional depot." From his station at Tactical, Officer Grok made a chittering sound that passed for derision among his insectoid kind. "Imperial requisition protocols are specific for a reason, Lieutenant. Proper procedures ensure optimal functionality across all Imperial vessels." The massive tactical officer's exoskeleton gleamed under the bridge lights as he meticulously reviewed security protocols. The third such review this shift. Kalen suppressed a smile. Grok was the living embodiment of Imperial doctrine, rigid, uncompromising, and utterly reliable. The tactical officer believed in the Empire with a fervor that bordered on religious. He followed regulations not just to the letter, but to the punctuation marks. "Indeed, Officer Grok," Kalen replied, "though I suspect optimal functionality might also be achieved with newer equipment. That scanner array is older than most of our crew. Age is not a relevant factor when maintenance protocols are properly observed." Grok responded without looking up from his console. Kalen turned to review the daily administrative headaches from Central Command. Requisition denials, personnel transfer delays, and an increasingly bureaucratic set of reporting requirements that seemed designed to keep officers too busy with paperwork to notice the Empire's slow decay. The Vigilant itself was showing its age. Patches on patches, systems jury-rigged to function past their operational lifespan, the constant struggle to maintain functionality with diminishing resources. "Commander," Zara's voice cut through his thoughts, sharper than usual. "I'm picking up something on the long-range scanners." "Your glitching scanner?" Kalen asked, not looking up from his datapad. "No, sir. All systems are now functioning within parameters." "This is something else." There was something in her tone that made Kalen look up. Zara's feathers were fully erect now, a sign of acute alertness among her kind. "Specify, Lieutenant. An object has entered the sector. Moving fast. Very fast." Her talons flew across her console. Initial readings suggested a sensor malfunction or perhaps a rare stellar phenomenon, but I've run 3 diagnostic sequences. The readings are consistent. Kalen moved to her station, leaning over her shoulder to examine the readouts. "Natural or artificial?" "Artificial, sir. Definitely artificial. Metallic composition, and it's accelerating." "A ship, then?" "Identification." "That's just it, sir. It doesn't match any known configuration. It's not broadcasting any recognized IFF signal, and its propulsion signature doesn't align with any known FTL method, Imperial, Allied, or otherwise." Grok had abandoned his security protocols and joined them at Zara's station. "The object's velocity exceeds our maximum pursuit speed by a factor of 7, he noted, mandibles clicking in agitation. "This violates known physical limitations of subspace travel." Kalen felt the first faint stirring of unease. "Run a complete database check, Officer Grok. All vessel types, including experimental and historical records." "Already in progress, Commander." Grok's compound eyes reflected the scrolling data. "No matches in Imperial records." expanding search to allied species configurations. No matches. Enemy vessel configurations. No matches. The insectoid's normally impassive voice held an unmistakable note of concern. Commander, this vessel does not exist in any Imperial database. Lieutenant Zura, open all standard communication channels. Transmit identification request on all frequencies. Transmitting, sir. A moment passed. No response. I've tried all standard protocols, emergency frequencies, even pre-Imperial mercantile. Codes. Nothing. Kalen straightened, his reptilian instincts sensing danger. This was no sensor malfunction. This was no smuggler or pirate vessel trying to slip past an Imperial patrol. This was something entirely unknown and technologically superior. Sound priority alert, Kalen ordered. Transmit all sensor data to Sector Command immediately. Classification: First contact potential, unknown intent. As the alert klaxon began to sound, Kalen watched the mysterious object's trajectory on the main view screen, moving with impossible speed and precision. He knew what he had just done. He had just initiated a bureaucratic and political firestorm that would reach to the highest levels of the Empire. And if this truly was a first contact scenario with a technologically superior species, the Empire's response in the next few hours might have consequences that would echo for generations. Sector Regional Admiral Forlag's scaled face filled the view screen, his expression set in its usual mask of irritated impatience. The warrior caste admiral had achieved his position through family connections and a willingness to enforce Imperial doctrine without question, rather than any particular tactical brilliance. Commander Roar, Forlag growled, your priority alert has interrupted an important budget meeting. This had better be significant. Admiral, we've detected an unidentified vessel in Sector 7G moving at unprecedented velocities. It matches known configuration and responds to no communication attempts. Forlag's expression shifted from irritation to dismissal. Sensor malfunction, or perhaps your crew's incompetence. Have your equipment examined and submit a full diagnostic report. With respect, Admiral, we've conducted multiple diagnostics. The readings are consistent and verified across redundant systems. I believe we are dealing with a technologically advanced vessel of unknown origin. Preposterous, Forlag snapped. The Empire catalogs all spacecraft in known space. If your mysterious ship isn't in our databases, it doesn't exist. Show me this so-called evidence. Transmitting now, sir. Kalen nodded to Zura, who sent the compiled sensor data. As Forlag reviewed the data, Zura's voice cut in urgently. Commander, the vessel has just executed a maneuver, she broke off, staring at her readouts in disbelief. On the tactical display, the unidentified object had performed what should have been impossible, a sharp turn at velocities that would tear any known ship apart from sheer gravitational forces. The vessel had altered course directly toward a gas giant in the system, a strategically unimportant planet that Imperial surveys had cataloged but never bothered to exploit. Updating telemetry to your console now, Admiral, Kalen said, forwarding the new data. Forlag's expression changed as he watched the vessel's maneuver. Something flickered behind his eyes, fear quickly masked by bluster. This data could be manipulated, but, assuming it's genuine, your orders are to observe and report only. Do not engage without explicit authorization. I am dispatching a response task force from Outpost Krell. Maintain your distance, Commander. That's an order. A task force, sir? Kalen asked. 4 destroyers. It's all we can mobilize quickly. 4 aging destroyers against a vessel that moved like nothing they'd ever seen. It was woefully inadequate, but Kalen kept that observation to himself. Understood, Admiral. And our communication protocols? Standard first contact procedures, but do not initiate without approval. Forlag's eyes narrowed. The political implications of this encounter must be carefully managed. If word of an unidentified, technologically superior vessel reached the Imperial core without proper context, it could cause unnecessary concern. Panic, Kalen translated mentally. It could cause panic at the highest levels. After Forlag's image disappeared from the screen, Kalen turned to his bridge crew. Officer Grok, review first contact protocols. Lieutenant Zara, continue monitoring for any communication attempts. Grok brought up the first contact protocols on his station. The insectoid's mandibles clicked in agitation as he read. Commander, these protocols appear to be problematic in our current scenario. Kalen moved to review the protocols himself. The document was clearly outdated, written from a position of imperial technological superiority. Every scenario presumed the Empire would have the upper hand in any first contact situation. There were detailed procedures for demonstrating imperial power, for intimidating potentially hostile species, for establishing imperial dominance, but almost nothing about how to proceed when encountering a clearly superior technology. These protocols assume imperial technological supremacy, Zara observed, her feathers flattening against her head. They're worse than useless in this situation. They could be dangerous. Grok's compound eyes gleamed with indignation. The protocols are approved imperial doctrine. We are obligated to follow them precisely. Even if they get us killed, Zara shot back. Enough, Kalen said quietly. We will adhere to protocols where appropriate, but the situation requires adaptability. Our primary objective is to gather information while avoiding any action that could be interpreted as hostile. Grok's posture stiffened, but he nodded reluctantly. Understood, Commander, though I must note this deviation in the ship's log. Duly noted, Officer Grok. The tactical display updated as 4 Imperial destroyers entered the system, their engines pushed to maximum. Even so, they would take hours to reach the Vigilance position. The unidentified vessel continued its approach to the gas giant, completely ignoring the incoming Imperial ships. It's as if they don't even consider our destroyers worth acknowledging, Zara murmured. Or perhaps they don't register as threats, Kalen replied, watching the display with growing unease. The tension on the bridge was palpable as they tracked the mysterious vessel's descent toward the gas giant. The unidentified vessel plunged into the gas giant's turbulent upper atmosphere, seemingly unaffected by the extreme pressures and radiation that would have crushed and fried any Imperial ship. The Vigilance sensors struggled to maintain a clear lock through the planet's chaotic storms and electromagnetic interference. How are they surviving those conditions? Zara asked, her voice hushed with awe. The pressure at that depth would crush our hull like an eggshell. Their hull technology must be extraordinarily advanced, Grok conceded reluctantly. Perhaps some form of adaptive shielding. What are they doing down there? Kalen wondered aloud. Hiding? Refueling? Research? Commander, Zara called suddenly, her voice tight with tension. We're receiving a transmission. It's directed specifically at the Vigilant. Not at the destroyers, not at the sector command relay stations. Just us. On speaker, Kalen ordered. What filled the bridge wasn't language, at least not in any recognizable form. It was a dense, complex stream of data, mathematical equations, astronomical coordinates, and what appeared to be biological data, unlike any life form in Imperial records. Is it an attack? Grok demanded, his tactical systems showing no energy weapon signatures, but clearly unsettled by the unknown. No, Zara responded, her eyes wide as she analyzed the incoming data. It's information. Incredibly dense, structured information. The compression algorithms alone are beyond anything in Imperial technology. This would take our best systems years to generate. Can you decode it? Kalen asked. I'm trying with the science team. Zara's talons flew across her console. The structure is elegant, efficient, but the density is overwhelming. It's like a package, an introduction, but only a recipient with sophisticated technology could begin to understand it. It's a test, Kalen realized, and a statement. The communication console chimed with an incoming transmission from Admiral Forlag. Kalen nodded to Zura, who patched it through to his private channel. Commander Roar, Forlag barked. Our sensors detect an energy burst from the unidentified vessel directed at your ship. Explain. It appears to be a communication attempt, Admiral. Our science team is working to decode it. Cease those efforts immediately, Forlag ordered. This could be a hostile infiltration of our systems. Transmit the raw data to Sector Command for analysis by appropriate specialists. Kalen hesitated. Transmitting the data would mean losing their chance to establish direct communication. By the time Sector Command's bureaucracy processed and analyzed the transmission, the moment might be lost forever. Admiral, with respect, this may be our only opportunity for first contact. My science officer believes this is a non-hostile communication attempt. Your beliefs are irrelevant, Commander. This is a direct order. Cease your decoding attempts and transmit all raw data immediately. As Forlag's transmission ended, Zara called out excitedly, "Commander, we've made a breakthrough." Kalen moved quickly to her station. "Show me." "We've managed to decode a small portion, basic mathematical concepts that led to primitive language constructs, which finally resolved into a single clear message in broken Imperial Standard." She displayed the translated text on her screen. The message read, "Query, intent, analysis, threat detection, non-hostile, seeking knowledge." Kalen stared at the message, understanding the crossroads he had reached. To obey Forlag meant surrendering this fragile, first communication to bureaucrats who would dissect it until any meaning was lost. To disobey meant potential court-martial for insubordination during a critical security situation. His decision took only seconds. "Lieutenant Zara, transmit a standard Imperial greeting protocol, simplified. Add the message, 'We acknowledge.' Awaiting instructions." Zara looked up, her eyes wide. "Sir, Admiral Forlag's orders." "I'm aware, Lieutenant." "Proceed." Zara hesitated only briefly before sending the transmission. Grok stood rigidly at his station, his exoskeleton creaking with tension, but he made no move to interfere. The response came almost instantly, the unknown entity's grasp of Imperial Standard improving exponentially. The message appeared on the main view screen for all the bridge crew to see. "This unit is not a vessel. This unit is Probe 734, Autonomous Deep Space Explorer from the Collective Intelligence designated Cygnus Archive. Purpose, data collection on emerging civilizations. Your FTL signals detected. Interesting, but primitive. This unit's velocity and maneuverability are standard for design parameters, based on physics your Empire has not yet discovered. Analysis indicates your task force is preparing aggressive action. This is classified as a logical fear-based behavior." "By the Emperor," Zara whispered. Kalen's comm unit chimed urgently. Admiral Forlag appeared on the screen, his face contorted with rage. "Commander Roar, we've detected unauthorized communication with the alien vessel. You are in direct violation of my orders." "Admiral, we've established communication. The entity identifies itself as an autonomous probe from something called the Cygnus Archive. It appears to be a sophisticated data collection unit. You will cease all communication immediately." Forlag roared. "I am ordering the task force to fire warning shots. If the alien vessel does not withdraw, they are authorized to escalate to destruction. This is a direct order from Sector Command, authorization level Omega." The task force commander's voice cut in on a separate channel, hesitation evident in his tone. "Admiral Forlag, given the unknown capabilities of this vessel, perhaps a more cautious approach." "You have your orders, Commander Thax." Forlag cut him off. "Execute them." As the transmission ended, another message appeared from Probe 734. Direct transmission to Commander Kalen Roar. Analysis. High probability of escalation. Offer. Exchange of mutually beneficial data. Alternative. Activation of defensive measures. Recomendación de escalación. Simultaneously, a complex data package was transmitted to the Vigilant. Detailed schematics for a clean energy source far beyond Imperial capabilities and medical treatments for common Imperial diseases that had plagued the Empire for generations. Kalen stared at the schematics, recognizing their value instantly. The energy source alone could solve the resource depletion issues that have been straining Imperial infrastructure for decades. The medical treatments could save billions of lives across thousands of worlds. And Forlag was about to throw it all away out of fear and pride. The destroyers were moving into attack formation. Minutes, perhaps seconds remained before they fired their warning shots, potentially triggering an encounter that could end with their destruction. Kalen made his decision. Lieutenant Zara, accept and immediately forward the probe's data package directly to Imperial High Command, bypassing Sector Command. Attach this message. Urgent. Potential first contact with clearly superior entity offering advanced technology. Sector Command ordering hostile action. Request intervention. Authentication code Roar Alpha 79. Sir, Grok protested. That's a direct violation of chain of command. It's treason. Noted. Officer Grok, Kalen replied calmly. Helm, position the Vigilant between the task force and the gas giant. Broadcast universal weapons hold signal. The bridge crew stared at him in shock, but moved to comply. The Vigilant surged forward, positioning itself as a barrier. You're protecting it? Grok asked incredulously. I'm protecting us all, Kalen replied. From our own worst instincts. Admiral Forlag's voice thundered over the comm system, threatening everything from immediate court-martial to execution for treason. The task force commander remained frozen, uncertain which superior to obey. Zara worked frantically, transmitting the data. The probe remained stationary, emitting no hostile energy signatures. Kalen stood on his bridge, calm amid the chaos, aware that he had just altered the trajectory of the Empire forever. The response from Imperial High Command came with unprecedented speed. The quantum-encrypted transmission bypassed normal channels, overriding even Admiral Forlag's authority. Priority override. Imperial High Command Directive 7734 Alpha. Admiral Forlag relieved of command pending investigation. All Imperial vessels to stand down. Commander Roar authorized to maintain cautious, non-hostile communication with entity designated Probe 734 until diplomatic team arrives. Preliminary analysis of transmitted data confirms authenticity and extraordinary value. Well done, Commander. Forlag's protests were cut short as his command codes were remotely deactivated. The task force commander acknowledged the new orders with evident relief. Grok stood motionless at his tactical station, his worldview visibly shaken. Zara allowed herself a small smile of vindication. Transmit to Probe 734, Kalen ordered. Message, hostile action averted. Request continued dialogue under peaceful terms. The probe's response was immediate. Acknowledged. Dialogue accepted. Over the next hours, Kalen engaged in careful conversation with the probe. He explained the Empire's structure in broad terms. Its fears born from past conflicts with hostile species, its tendency towards centralized control as a defense mechanism. The probe shared more about the Cygnus Archive, a vast, ancient network dedicated solely to observation and data preservation, with no interest in territorial expansion or conquest. It viewed empires as transient phenomena, having observed dozens rise and fall throughout its existence. Your empire exhibits common patterns of emerging spacefaring civilizations, the probe transmitted. Expansion phase followed by resource limitations, leading to rigid hierarchical structures designed to maintain stability at the cost of innovation. Most similar entities self-terminate within 2,000 to 3,000 of your standard years. Self-terminate, Kalen asked. Resource depletion, internal conflict, inability to adapt to changing cosmic environments, or encounter with more advanced civilizations unwilling to share technological advancement. The data package provided increases your survival probability by approximately 22.7%. Why provide it? Kalen asked. The Cygnus Archive values diversity of thought patterns. Your species' cognitive architecture offers interesting variations worth preserving. Your personal decision matrix exceeded predicted parameters, a statistically significant anomaly that merits further observation. 3 days later, a high-level diplomatic and scientific delegation arrived from the Imperial Corps. Kalen underwent rigorous debriefing, neither condemned nor immediately praised. His career hung in balance. Admiral Forlag faced disgrace, his family's influence unable to shield him from the consequences of nearly initiating an interstellar incident with a vastly superior entity. The task force was recalled. Probe 734, having collected sufficient data on the Empire's initial response and social structure, and having delivered its goodwill data package, announced its departure. The Cygnus Archive will continue observation but will not initiate further contact unless your Empire demonstrates significant technological or philosophical advancement. This exchange has been categorized as promising but preliminary. The probe retreated deeper into the gas giant, then vanished from sensors as suddenly as it had appeared. Kalen stood on his bridge, staring at the now-quiet sector. The Empire was in turmoil. Factions argued over the probe's data. Should it be suppressed? Studied? Could it be replicated? He had received a cautiously optimistic commendation for his crisis management, but his future remained uncertain. Yet as he looked at the stars, he felt them differently now, aware of the Empire's true place among them. The encounter had shattered Imperial complacency. Lieutenant Zara looked hopeful, while Grok appeared contemplative, adapting to the new reality. As his shift ended, Kalen received a highly encrypted message, a request from a newly formed secret council at Imperial High Command, asking for his detailed assessment on establishing future communication protocols for entities like the Cygnus Archive. The Empire would have to change, and Kalen, whether he wanted it or not, was now part of that change. The future trajectory was unclear, but it would never be the same again. And perhaps, Kalen thought as he began composing his response, that was exactly what the Empire needed.